Welcome everyone, I'm Mr. Eves, and today we're going to be talking about comparing fractions, and we're also going to be talking about simplifying these fractions. This is a concept that we've covered quite a bit this year, and so I'm not going to really explain a whole lot about it, I'm just going to go through the basics. And so let's start off with our worksheet title. It says, why was a zoo worker fired for feeding the monkeys? The direction says, do each exercise and find your answer to the right. Write the letter of the answer in the box containing the number of the exercise. If the answer has a blank one, shade in the box instead of writing a letter in it. So our first set of directions says write each fraction in lowest terms. So basically we're going to take the fraction 9 over 12, and we're going to simplify it. So we're going to ask ourselves, what's the biggest number that goes into 9 and 12? And when I think of that, I think that we can divide by both 3 and 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. And so 3/4 is our answer. Now you're going to notice the answer box on there, it's going to be matched up with the letter T. So 3/4 is T. And so in box number 1 down below, we will put the letter T in that box. Number 2, we ask ourselves once again, what's the biggest number that goes into both 8 and 18? And so I go through it, I say, well, 2 goes into both of them, then 4 doesn't go into either one, 8 doesn't go into either one, so 2 is our biggest number. So we're going to divide by 2, and so 2 goes into 8 4 times, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. And so that's reducing fractions. We want to simplify them down. Now, I said that you need to use the largest number. If you use the largest number, it'll automatically simplify it all the way down. But if you don't use the largest number, say that we had, for example, 4 8s. And so if we did 4 8s and we didn't choose the largest, we chose 2, that's going to show that we're going to have to divide again by 2 because that wasn't the largest number that can go into it. So that'll be 2/4, which is also divisible by 2 once again. That gives us 1/2. Now, just a little side note, because we divided by 2 on both top and bottom, that's really like dividing by the whole number 4. Okay? And so 4 was the largest number that goes into both of those, but you can get there both ways. You can choose the smallest number and it'll take you a couple more steps. So it doesn't matter which way you decide to go. Now, the next section, oh, and that was the letter E. Sorry, that was the letter E. And you'll fill that in box number 2 down below. The next section says write each improper fraction as a mixed number, and each mixed number as an improper fraction. So this first section is actually dealing with improper fractions. So these first little bit, that's an improper fraction. See if I can get a straight line. And so these are improper fractions. So that kind of helps you out. So those are improper fractions, what they kind of look like. So number 9 and number 10. And so we start off, we ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 23? In our heads, we're going to say 5 goes into 23 4 times. 4. Then we're going to take the denominator and bring it right over. So we take that 5 and bring it right over, and we go 4 times 5 is 20, and we're going to subtract 20 from 23, and that leaves us with 3 left over. So it's 4 3/5. Do the same thing for number 10. 8 goes into 18 twice. Bring my 8 down. And then 8 times 2 is 16. Minus that, and that leaves us with 2 left over. Now you're going to notice that we're going to have to simplify this because it's not in simplest form. So we go ahead and bring the 2 out in front again, and then 2 goes into 8. 2 goes into itself once, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So we just simplified it. Now, we just identify what a improper fraction looks like. Now, a mixed number is dealing with these number 13 and number 14. Now mine's going to look a little bit different than yours because I copied and pasted this in, and so yours is going to be a little bit different. on your worksheet. But if you just look at number 13 and number 14 now, that'll be able to help us see what we need to do. So the first step on number 13 is we take 4 and we times it by 3. So we go 4 times 3 equals 12. So 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 equals 15. Now, just like we did before, we take our denominator and just bring it right over. So we're going to bring that denominator of 4 and bring it straight over. And so we have 15/4. Now, the nice thing about this is if you can't simplify, if it's already in simplest form here, you're not going to have to simplify your mixed number. But if it's not in simplest form, then you'll have to do that. But most of the time it's in simplest form. Right over here we go 8 times 10, which is 80. And 80 plus 3 is 83. And don't forget just to bring it straight over, 83 over 10. So that's that section. Pretty easy. The third section is probably the easiest of all the sections. And the reason why it's the easiest is all we have to do is do cross multiplication. But to start off, let's go through the directions. Write A greater or less than in each of the circles. Then choose the smaller fraction. So I'm going to highlight that. The smaller fraction for finding and find it among the answers. So what we're going to do is we're going to come right here. We have our first one, 17. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 17 is 2/3 and 7/9. We're going to use cross multiplication, so I'm going to take the bottom of the first one, times it by the tops of the second one. So our second fraction, that gives us 21. And I do the same thing, but I do the bottom of the second fraction and go to the top of the first fraction. That gives me 18. Now we ask ourselves, what's bigger, 18 or 21? Well, we know that 21 is larger, and so, but the direction says we need to choose the smaller of the fractions. So if 21 is larger, then I need to choose the one that's with 18, so it's 2/3. So I'm going to go ahead and choose 2/3, and I'll put my answer over there. Same thing on number 18. Take the bottom, 5 over to 1, and that gives us 5 times 1 is 5. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 is greater than 5. However, we're choosing the smaller of the two values because that's what the directions want. And so we do 1/3. So number 18, you're going to match up with 1/3. Once again, this has been a quick lesson by Mr. Eves, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on my help page at mreves.com and just click on the help tab, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.